Michael, good morning.
Good morning, Chris. How you doing today?
Good. This is Christopher Maher. This is a weekly cast that we do uh, answering legal questions that come into our offices during the week. Um, the uh, broadcasts have resulted in questions that come in from viewers. This morning, the question that we're going to discuss is what happens if I've been convicted after some type of a court proceeding? What are my remedies, if any? And I have with me my associate, Michael DiRienzo. Uh, Michael has shared his experience and expertise on immigration issues over the last several weeks. So we're going to switch course a little bit today. And we're going to talk about what we call in the legal profession post-conviction relief. Um, Most people are familiar with convictions in a criminal sense, but we're going to talk about convictions generically. What happens if somebody has what we'll call an adverse um, result in any court proceeding? What, if anything, can the person do? And there's a number of things that one can do, but at that stage, if the person has not been represented by an attorney in whatever court they find themselves now having some type of an adverse result, the person should really speak with an attorney, at least by phone, immediately to find out what remedies they have. In New York, and we really address ourselves to New York, unless Michael is sharing his experience and expertise in immigration work, which is a national field. But in New York, where I practice, if you are convicted of something or have an adverse result in a court proceeding, you have a very short period of time to decide whether you want to do anything by filing what's called some type of a notice of appeal that indicates to whoever was involved in your court proceeding against you that you are intending to appeal the result from that court to another court or another administrative body. And the period of time to elect that remedy and to preserve that right that you have is a very short period of time. So you must act quickly. And it's more than simply sending in a paper to the judge uh, and the prosecutor in your case. You really have to file papers that are letter perfect to preserve that right. So people should understand that at that stage, if they hadn't already done so, people need to consult with a lawyer at least by phone, and it should be a lawyer who's experienced in that area. So if, for instance, you have gone to a town court or a city court and you've been convicted of a crime, for instance, a DWI crime, it can have profound effects on things like collaterally, things like your driver's license, your right to drive, your ability to continue working if you're working, things of that sort. So you have to be very careful about what you do. And your lawyer, if you're going to retain an attorney at that stage, is going to need your active assistance while the events are still fresh in your mind. And that lawyer, if they're going to appeal any type of an adverse result, is probably going to most likely need to consult with whoever may have represented you in the court that you're seeking to appeal the adverse result from. So if there's been a conviction, let's say you've got a speeding ticket some type of traffic offenses and you go to trial and you represent yourself, which I don't recommend that you do, but if you've done it, and I've seen people do it, and if you have an adverse result, you may not even be aware of how adverse that result may be, what impact negatively that result may have on those daily activities like I've just described, like a driver's license or a right to work. People need to know that they need to put that lawyer to work for them right away and make sure that just ask the lawyer, have you done this type of work before? If the lawyer says no, or if you think that the family friend who handled the real estate closing on your house is a good person to consult with, that lawyer may not be the best person to consult with. And I've always told people that in my experience, it doesn't cost somebody money to call up a law firm and ask to speak to an attorney who has experience in that field and who can help me with my appeal. That's really what it's called. It's called an appeal. You're appealing from whatever decision was made by the court you were just in, or the administrative body like the Department of Motor Vehicles that you were just before. And if you have a bad result, such as the loss of a license, or such as what could be some type of a conviction that may hurt your ability to work, then you really need to understand that's not the end of the road. Too many people just walk away and they don't realize that there may be a reason that is a legitimate reason to appeal that adverse result, and that you stand a potentially good chance of changing that result from a negative result to a positive result. So if that has happened to you, don't sit around and just say, well, there's nothing I can do anymore. I was in traffic court, or I was before the Department of Motor Vehicles, or I was in a town or a village court or a city court somewhere and I represented myself, or I had somebody who represented me, but now what do I do? What you do is you don't stop. You appeal, but you've got to move quickly, because in New York, there's a very short period of time to file what's called the notice of appeal. It's 30 days from whenever you had that adverse decision in a court where you just were. And the notice of appeal must be filed, and it must be filed in a timely fashion. And if it's not filed in a timely fashion, that alone can be grounds for denying what could very likely have been a meritorious appeal from a conviction. It doesn't stand that just because a court makes a decision or an administrative body makes a decision that the decision is a correct decision. It may not be correct. It's made by human beings who are not perfect, but they're trying to carry out whatever their statutory obligation is. And in doing so, they may have not done it correctly. And if you can get that bad decision that you've just gotten from a court reversed, you can potentially go back to that court and have a second bite of the apple, so to speak. Or even better, you can have the appeals court make a decision on their own that may change that adverse decision into a positive decision. So that's the basic rule of thumb. If somebody has any questions about that, please reach out to us, and best of luck, and have a good weekend.
You too. I think next week, right on the agenda, we're going to talk about the specifics as to what actually you can appeal. So I know the viewers are going to be very excited about that, because we talked about the generalists today, but I know the specifics will be something that we'll dive deeper into next week.
Yes. Thank you, Michael.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Good to see you.
You too.